Oh, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode in our podcast, No Visible Bruises. And today we have the wonderful Caroline Haribel. And most welcome, Caroline. So, Caroline is a brain spotting practitioner, somatic trauma informant, a positive psychology coach, and she's been teaching us all this all along. Very wonderful topics for us to learn, and we all have that as a lineup on our YouTube, and we post it in many places also. So again, we would like to and be honored to have you here, Caroline. What would you be teaching us? And please, if you like, give an introduction about what about yourself, or if you have something you are doing these days. Please inform us also.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much, Sanjeev. It's lovely to be here again. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, so today we were going to talk about like somatic states and the cues that you can actually understand about where your vagus nerve is relating to how your thoughts are processing. Because, as you say, when you give yourself the opportunity to slow down, to sit, and to actually listen, and to notice gently what you're noticing without judgment and with kind and compassion to those thought processes, quite often we can tell whether or not you're in a ventral vagal kind of healthy rest and digest area in your nervous system, or if you're in a more sort of sympathetic flight or flight kind of activation, or if you're in the dorsal vagal part of your nervous system, like really in a shutdown, in a freeze sort of place. And it's just really curious to be able to utilize like the linguistic patterns of what you're actually saying to yourself, as to where being able to identify those somatic sensations within your nervous system as well. So we're just going to have a little bit of an exploration today into
Wonderful.
that, if that's okay. Is that any questions coming up with
No,
that?
no, no, no. This is fine.
Okay, great. So yeah, so just say when you're looking at your nervous system, um, we if we was to give our nervous system like as numbers from 0 up to 10, where 0 is like you're very calm and rest and digest, like everything's happening and organizing properly. Your brain is only using the 25% quota of its daily energy, and so the rest of your organs are all operating and healing, recovering as they're supposed to do. And but conversely, so that would be sort of like on a scale of 0 to 10, sort of 0 up to 4, and then sort of 4 up until 7 is where you're sort of starting to find that more kind of emotional and psychological pain and traumas in your nervous system feeling more activated. And then if we go from 7 up to 10, to give yourself like that scale of like how you're feeling very kind of uh, like the world is in darkness and you're feeling in that freeze, and essentially what's happening here in your mind is it's utilizing about 60% of your daily energy allowance. So as you can say, it's taking that unfair share quota, and it's supposed to be about 25% of your daily allowance for your brain functions. If it's taking that much more, then that energy that's having to be rerouted from other organs in your body, essentially, which is why again we're starting to notice a lot more sort of inflammatory diseases coming up and within our bodies, because there's just not getting the energy to be able to repair itself, because our minds are in and our emotions are in these hyper freeze states.
Mhm.
It's so, and you can have either hyper, which is like really activated and manic, or hypo, which would be more kind of like depressed. And
Mhm.
again, so again, that's when we give ourselves the opportunity to start listening to the language that we're telling ourselves, we can actually hear whether or not we're feeling in that sort of rest and digest, the nice and calm area, or if we're in that sympathetic, or if we're in that freeze dorsal vagal area.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, so again, and it kind of goes back towards feelings, like, we don't think we're hungry, we say, oh, I feel hungry. We don't think we're thirsty, we say, oh, I feel thirsty. And we don't think we're sad, we feel sad. We don't think we're happy, we feel happy, right? So again, we're looking at noticing how we speak with ourselves about what feelings we're feeling, what sensations are coming up in the body, and even though we tell ourselves with the thoughts, it's the feeling that comes first before the thought. Okay.
Mhm.
And so when you're in a kind of ventral vagal, kind of green calm state like that, 0 up to 4, I just want to give you the opportunity to sort of think about what the world feels like in flow. Like when you would say I am, what sort of sense, what sort of words would you feel like when you're in that calmer kind of rest and digest area? And you just think about that word and attain it to yourself, say I am. And then you'd consider and the world is. So just thinking about what sort of words you would use for that. And then if we were then thinking about going up from the 4 up to the 7, being more in that sort of fight or flight, kind of bit more activated, what word would you use to consider yourself there? Like I am, and again, I'm not going to prompt you with any of these words because these are all uniquely yours, you know. This is when you give yourself the opportunity to listen to yourself, this is how we feel. And then think about how the world is, and you would say, and the world is, and then just getting curious again to see whether or not in that scale of 7 up to 10, that more sort of free state, when you think about yourself being in that free state, you would say I am and the world is. Okay, and it's giving ourselves that opportunity to kind of just sit there and notice what sort of words you refer to yourself and refer to the world when you're feeling about in those different states. And so now that you've kind of collected that information about yourself, and so you know already now, like what thought patterns you have when you're feeling more energetic, or when you're feeling more kind of anxious, or when you're feeling more kind of low and depressed. So now, and again, you know, life is about cycles. You know, there's no right or wrong in this. We're just gently giving the opportunity to find and notice what we're noticing about ourselves with the language that we use when we're in these different states. And then just getting curious again. Now we want to see when we're in that free state, essentially, if we were to kind of call it a traffic light, like a red light, like the free state, so that 10 till 7. And as you say, we're giving ourselves that opportunity to just sort of think, well, what are our triggers? Going back from when we start thinking that thought, just giving ourselves the opportunity to look back across the day or the week before that sort of thought pattern and that cycle started coming up. What maybe was happening around you or to you that prompted that state in your nervous system, you know? And just giving yourself the opportunity to notice that, to see what potentially happens. Is it a weekly thing, or is it a daily thing, or is it a monthly thing, or is it an annual thing even, maybe? Like, again, you know, and quite often people who live in, like in England here, we get like a seasonal adjustment disorder, like again, just because the weather's cycling down, you know, and it creates the blue moods. You know, there's no right or wrong in it. We're all allowed to go up and down and flow. So just noticing that. And then also, now if we go into that 4 to 7, the sort of amber, more kind of sympathetic, and what sort of triggers, again, what sort of things do you notice in your environment, in your day-to-day life, or just before sort of those sensations are starting to come up, those thought patterns of how you feel when you're in that? Just noticing in your life how that works, and giving yourself the opportunity to, once you can identify it, then you give yourself the power and the knowledge to be able to move yourself away from pain before it actually becomes something your subconscious needs to work with. And then conversely, if we're looking at that green light being in that rest and digest, we would be looking for the glimmers. What are the little places of joy and hope and sparks that give you more kind of those feelings of being positive and feeling more calm and relaxed in your environment? You know, and just giving yourself that opportunity there again, just to sit and think be reflective with that. And again, noticing what you're noticing. And if there is something, then there is something. If there isn't something, then that's something also. You know, there's no judgment. It's about just gently giving yourself the opportunity to notice what you're noticing. And when we have the power to name it, then we have also the power to change it. So And then, as you say, it's quite empowering being able to do that. Yeah. Have you got any questions with regards to that?
No. It's very interesting.
Yeah, definitely, as you say. And then moving forward with this little exercise about like figuring out the language that you're speaking with yourself, as to noticing what sort of state your nervous system is. And then you can give yourself the opportunity to think about the things that you can do on your own that might move you out of that state, into a different state, moving towards hopefully ventral vagal, where you can be in that rest and digest, where your brain can calm itself down and everything else can start functioning and healing as it's supposed to. So when we think about that, it's like, what is it in the past that you've been able to identify that has been able to move you out of those thought patterns and out of those feelings? Has it something that you've done yourself, or has it been something that somebody externally or something externally has done with or for you? And just giving yourself the opportunity there to just think about those things. Yeah. And so we'll just consider that for if we're in that freeze zone, if we've ever been in that deepness, and just thinking about that pattern of before, and what is it that moved you through that. And again, it could be something that you keep doing and working on again. So every time we check in with that, sometimes it works, and then conversely, sometimes we follow the same patterns that we used to work, and sometimes this time they don't work, and it's okay. This is just about giving ourselves the opportunity and the space to think about, if it was to happen again, what else would I try? So that we have more of a repertoire of possibilities to be able to action ourselves moving out of it. And then again, when we're in that sort of more sympathetic, more heightened fight or flight movement, what is it that in the past you've done to move out of it for yourself? And maybe potentially what else has someone else or something else done to help you move that? And also then going into that ventral vagal, that rest and digest, it's like, what is it that helps you stay in that zone? And what is it that you've done for yourself in the past that's helped you to stay in that zone? And what is it that potentially someone else has done to help, or something else has done to help you? I know that quite often, in the ventral vagal, as you say, it's about making sure that we're consistent with our relationship to food, to sleep, to hydration, relationships to people, to money, all of those sort of organic, everything that society and life kind of, we can kind of have that holistic kind of overview of everything. But again, I appreciate that sometimes that might feel a bit overwhelming. So just identifying the strengths that you currently have that you want to be able to maintain in those habits. And also, just want to give you the opportunity here to just to do a little bit of a breathing exercise, maybe to give you a tool if you're in that more sort of sympathetic, in that sort of 7 to 4 zone. If things are starting to feel a bit activated, you can do the finger breathing, where you just gently at your own pace, not looking to control it so much, but concentrating on tracing your finger. As you run along your finger, you would breathe in, and then as you trace back down, you breathe out, and then just trace your whole hand, breathing in and then breathing out, and going at your own pace, breathing back in and breathing out, and breathing in and breathing out, and breathing in and breathing out. And again, as you say, just gently knowing that this tool is for yours here. You can trace your finger as many times as you like, going up and down, and noticing your breath as it rises and falls along, and also noticing that tactile sensation of your fingers tracing along each other. And I think you'll also notice that by the action of doing the finger tracing as well, your thoughts were concentrating on the thoughts of breath and finger sensation,
Yeah.
and it wasn't thinking about anything else, right?
Yeah. It's
And
very,
it's so spontaneous and amazingly
yeah.
instant. be able to just bring you back into the present.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
very
yeah, so that's just a really nice tool that
uh-huh.
you can utilize, as you say. And the great thing is they're always in your pocket.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh,
Yeah, brilliant.
Very
Yeah,
practical as well as like it's always there. No, you don't need any extra things.
that's it, absolutely. And as you say, quite the majority of somatic tools are all within you. You know, you don't need any of other prompts or anything to be able to utilize those tools. Once you've learnt them, it's about gently practicing them though, so that when and if the sensations do arise, they become more tangible for you to be able to just put your hands in your pocket and then bring your fingers out and just be like, yeah, I can just do this breathing, you
Mm-hmm.
know. I mean, I think that most of us have noticed in the past, if we've ever been sat for an interview or sat waiting, whatever, like our fingers will just generally kind of
Uh-huh,
like
uh-huh.
play with each other anyway, you know.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And again, just giving ourselves that compassionate awareness and be like, oh, look, my body does these sort of things already on its own. It's just when I give myself the opportunity to kind of indulge in it, and that's when you give yourself those little sparks of joy and those little glimmers of happiness and hope, like to be able to just go, yeah, this is cool. Yeah, amazing. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, so has anything come up for you with that?
yeah, yeah. Couple of things. Yeah.
Go for it.
So, Caroline, please.
Mm.
No, no, no.
Yeah, it's all good.
So, this is like the lower parts of that numbers. It's like, is it like a safe zone, and the other ones, is it like a danger zone for anybody? Or like when you say like 1 to 4 or 1 to 5, the reactions are lesser, right? Wha-
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, our logical brain, the prefrontal cortex, if we was to imagine this is the brain in the palm of the hand. So we've got the logical brain here, um, and that just likes to have the numbers so that it can feel like it's doing something and can
Mhm,
understand it.
mhm,
And again, I think we may have mentioned in the past, that our logical brain can process between 60 and 80 bits of information per second, which is
mhm,
amazing. Like it's
mhm,
the microscope of looking at information and decoding it. It's like looking at a water particle and seeing all the H2O molecules, right? It's a very, very powerful lens that
mhm,
we can see life through. But again, it's just a very small sliver, because when we're thinking about the rest of our brain, our limbic system, like our mammalian part of our brain, and also our reptilian system and our brainstem, and also somatically the rest of our body, that's processing 11 million bits of information per second.
mhm,
Like, so the number scale is so that your brain can kind of, the prefrontal cortex part of your brain can kind of go, all right, it's a very, very, very sort of simplified way of understanding what all the rest of everything's going on, right?
mhm,
Because I mean, if we were to try and sit here and go, well, is it 11 million or is it 10,958 7? Like it would just like no numbers. So this is just, as you say, that scale to be able to give ourselves that easy kind of check-in
mhm,
tool, effectively, to be able to say, what number does my nervous system feel like it's in at the moment? Do I feel just in a 2 or a 3, or do I feel a bit more activated about something, or do I feel really kind of like, no, trapped in? And also giving yourself that opportunity when you're feeling those sort of sensations on that scale, to then give yourself the opportunity to notice those thought patterns as well, and notice whether or not they can, because thought patterns can also increase your numbers and decrease your numbers as well,
mhm, mhm,
you know. And that's why also we give ourselves the opportunity to utilize the somatic skills to be able to calm the mind down, so that then we can
mhm,
change that tiny little lens that we're looking through, so that we can change it a little bit and just move it forward a little bit and be able to down regulate the nervous system, so as to hopefully get ourselves back into that rest and digest sort of self-leadership state, where we're in calm curiosity,
mhm,
kindness, compassion, rather than, as you say, blended with a different emotional or behavioral part of ourselves
mhm,
that potentially is taking the driving seat, and we're not leading ourselves with our self-leadership. We're leading essentially from a younger part of ourselves when we're in that,
mhm,
and in that trigger. And yeah, and ultimately as well, with regards to making sure that we are hopefully more in that rest and digest sympathetic parasympathetic part of our nervous system, where it's in ventral vagal, so that our body can heal it and repair itself. But we have to be very mindful that sometimes ventral vagal and dorsal vagal, like the calm, rest and digest, and also the freeze, can look very similar. Like, as I said, like when you're calm and relaxed, you look calm and relaxed. But when you're in hypo arousal, like in freeze, you look calm and relaxed, but actually you're kind of stuck and static and don't have any energy really to do much. So the very micro sort of change, as opposed to like the fight or flight, where it's like everything's bubbling. That one's kind of a lot easier to sort of ascertain. But the difference between dorsal vagal and ventral vagal, because they're both in the parasympathetic part of the nervous system, it's very, very similar. But the way that you know yourself is by how your thought patterns are working and how you're feeling. Yeah.
And Caroline, so this is like very sensitive things, no?
Yeah.
So at what point should the person like get to know this? Because say somebody's in like a chaotic situation and they don't see these kind of things also. No, I'm just asking. So how can they, or like at what stage would they recognize, or what should stage should they recognize these kind of things? Because say I'm in some trouble, or just as example, no, and then I wouldn't even, sometimes even if I study this, sometimes it might not come up, no, in the mind, because you are so caught up in that situation. So I'm just asking, how can a person do, or at what stage should they know, or what time will they know these kind of things?
Well, I mean, ultimately, it would be amazing if we could all learn about these different states of ourselves as early as possible, like even in school, in preschool, like understanding our thoughts and emotions and understanding how to co-regulate and down-regulate and self-regulate as well. But ultimately, until a person knows the skills and the skill set, it's fair that we can't know what we don't know. And for those of us that do know, it's about seeking that self-compassion and looking to see whether or not we can guide them in any way with regards to, doing either that tracing, finger breathing, just to be able to help them calm down so as to change that mental state, to be able to help them move into a calmer situation within their nervous system. And then ultimately, it's all about your own self-learning and self-healing as to what techniques actually work for you, because there are a beautiful array out there of different techniques to be able to help us calm and down-regulate our nervous system, as you say. I mean, I know you do meditation and the beautiful arts of works that you do. There's also a lot of other different breathing techniques out there, like the VU breath, which helps to, because you're making that kind of foghorn sound as well, with the vibrations of the sound, as well as the constant exhalation, and the elongated exhalation as well helps to down regulate your nervous system. So that would be making literally just the sound of a VU, like a foghorn kind of going VU. I'm sure that you notice that, but yeah, as you say, so, and just doing that sort of 4 or 5 times to be able to, and again, doing that on a regular basis would help to tone your vagus nerve as well, to be able to expand its capacity for challenge, because sometimes when you're in freeze, your vagus nerve can get very tight, and so sounds and lights and other things can be very overwhelming. So by exercising that vagus nerve, it helps to reduce how fierce and hard some of those experiences can be. I mean, because the world can be a beautiful, intoxicating place, but sometimes it can be very busy and loud and high and bright and everything. And so, by just you doing these somatic exercises on a regular basis, you tone that within yourself to be able to enjoy more of the beauty that's there, rather than having it feel like it's more of a chore than a charm. And there's also other ways that, if you're actually feeling very panicked and You can also utilize cold water therapy with regards to the mammalian diving reflex, where you splash cold water on your, can you see here on your,
Yeah.
just on your cheekbones here,
Uh-huh.
on that soft bit of your eyelid, on your,
Uh-huh.
the lower part of your eyelids. So
Uh-huh.
if you get that cold, that helps to switch your nervous system into like coming back online from, as you said, when we were in that thinking about that brain in the palm of the hand. When we've gone offline and our prefrontal cortex has gone offline, this is where we're in our emotional part of our brain. So, but cold water will help to bring that back online as well.
Mhm.
So that's quite a good quick trick. Or alternatively, a cold drink of something or other, preferably not alcoholic, but something cold.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So those are good tools to be able to help to bring somebody that you can see that's going into a sympathetic nervous system response
Mhm.
back online, so that you can then potentially have the conversation again, or continue with the experience that you were having, or alternatively, as you say, putting in a pin on it and saying, okay, well, let's break for today and we'll come back another time.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah. So I think those are some really, really powerful tools to be able to help, as you say, if you're seeing somebody else that's looks like they're struggling with that. Yeah. So,
Mhm.
but again, as with all exercise, there is that small consistency that is needed, that little bit every day, because otherwise, if we're not doing it every day, we're unwinding it and going back into those negative thought patterns. And again, I think it was beautiful where you highlighted that, because that is something that someone else can do around you, like, as much as a lot of our onus is always on ourselves to say, oh, I have to do this, I have to be that, I've got to sort myself out. But again, so we are reflections of each other, and so when we notice that another person that around us is looking like they're getting into a place that they might start tipping, it's also a beautiful opportunity for us to be compassionately aware to others, and offer
Mhm.
support, because if you don't ask or you don't offer, then the answer is always no, right? But
Mhm.
at least if you ask and you offer, then there's a 50% chance that it'll be received, and sometimes, even if it is refused, even in the offering, that was enough to just take a person from the brink of suicidal ideation to just bring them back over and be like, oh wow, I was in that thought pattern and I was really engrossed and enmeshed in that, and that was just enough to bring me out, checking in. So
Mhm.
yeah, amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And I see like
Yeah.
so much value like when you are sharing these things, like when people know, even I think like children, and not only that, families also should know these kind of things. And it's so great you are sharing these things, Caroline, because if say like somebody in our family is going through something, or if they say, then if the other person, no, it's like first aid, no? So then the other person can come in and try to help, like you said now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, giving each of our own selves as well that compassion, and saying, is this within my realm of being able to help and support? And if it's not, that's okay. It's about, then seeing to delegate and say, well, maybe I can find another support system around in our local area that does know how to help with this,
Mm.
because it's very empowering to be able to help, isn't it? So yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Definitely. Oh, brilliant.
Mhm.
Amazing. Yeah. So going back into like those thought patterns, I know that at the beginning of the conversation, I didn't want to really guide people into the words around what came up for each of us, because ultimately we all are very beautiful, unique individuals, okay? And all of our thought patterns are all going to be very unique and individual. But conversely, I appreciate that there might be like some people that are a bit like, I really don't get what that was all about. I don't understand those thoughts, because again, it could be a completely new concept for them. So I just want to do a little personal collection plan. Okay, this is just a little selection of 16 questions,
Mhm.
and I just want to give you the opportunity to just do this little test, and just to see whether or not you think that it's a thought, or whether or not you think that it's a feeling. Okay,
Mhm.
so So, is this a thought or is this a feeling? I feel that something awful will happen. Is it a thought or a feeling?
Thought.
So the statement is, I feel that something awful will happen. But is it a thought or is it a feeling?
A thought. But it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It is a thought because it's the preempting of something, right? So it's actually a thought. Yeah.
Though the
Okay.
word
So
feeling is there, no?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, as you say,
Mm.
that sometimes we have to be able to really listen to the language. But yeah, so
Mm.
and then is this a thought or is this a feeling? I feel scared.
Feeling.
Yep. Okay.
Mhm.
I feel like nothing ever goes right. Is that a thought or a feeling?
Thought.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
I feel so guilty.
Feeling.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
I feel as though I'm falling apart.
Thought.
I feel as though I'm falling apart.
Uh, oh, that's feeling, right? Sorry.
Yeah, like wood
Feeling, no?
falling.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, sorry.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
I feel very angry.
Feeling.
I feel as if my life will never get better.
Feeling?
Like that's kind of like a thought as well.
Thought.
It's like,
Oh,
oh,
okay, okay.
that's future casting in that thought.
Mhm.
I feel lonely.
Feeling.
hmm I feel that something awful will happen.
Feeling. Oh,
But that's a thought.
thought. Okay.
So it's question is number one. So it's come back
Uh-huh.
in.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I feel
Yeah, sorry?
I feel scared.
Feeling.
Feeling, yeah. I feel like nothing ever goes right. Is that a thought or a feeling?
Thought.
Yeah, as you say,
Uh-huh.
it's future casting again. Um, I feel so guilty.
Feeling.
Amazing. So I'm gonna end that there. But as you said, there's a few more sort of questions, but it's
Oh,
just interesting to be able to kind of give yourself the opportunity. As you said, they all have the word feel in them, but
yeah.
some of them are thoughts and some of them are feelings. So it's just about giving yourself that opportunity to just hold that space and go, is this a thought that I'm thinking that I have, or is this actually a feeling that I'm having?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just curious, just again, little games to be able to play with ourselves, to get
Mm-hmm.
curious and to bring ourselves back into online as well. You know, sometimes using that cognitive prefrontal cortex also helps us with um coming back into the green and into that 0 to 4 as well, so it's much as sometimes the thoughts can be more overwhelming, sometimes they can be helpful as well, and it's just about finding that beautiful balance. Again, there's no right or wrong in anything, it's just about noticing what we're noticing in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome.
Mm. So, Caroline, where
All
can
good.
people learn this?
Any questions
Usually, you
about
are
that? Did it make you feel
no, not at all. Just like,
uncomfortable?
yeah, I was like, oh, is it a feeling? Is it so? Uh, so, if
Yeah.
somebody really wants to learn more and more of this, where can they learn? Surely you are teaching this, no? Like, if somebody wants to have a big understand, do you teach these kind of things like a course or like that?
Yeah, I mean, I can refer people onto my mentor, Caroline Strawson.
Mhm.
So again, she's the source of all this amazing wealth of knowledge that I
Mhm.
have as well, for the most part. But I work one to one with people with
Really? Uh-huh.
independent coaching to be able to, as you say, really identify what individual people's stories are telling them, rather than that overview, which would be where I pinpoint people to her course if they wanted to work with me one-to-one. And I also do the brain spotting practitioning as well, which is about taking that laser focused observation of those somatic cues and finding into that sensation within your body to be able to allow that trauma capsule essentially to be able to be attended to so that it can release and disperse and then somatically and viscerally be released from your body and your mind to be able to help to increase that flow of energy and the movement through that vagus nerve as well, getting everything back in track.
Mm.
Yeah,
Uh,
amazing.
Yeah.
And how do people work with you? What is
Sorry?
it you do? How do people work with you and what do you do? Let's tell them about you too.
Oh, like usually traditional ways or like ancient methods, but
Yeah,
they relate to many problems we have today. And it's
yeah.
going with meditations, and there's like kind of spiritual counseling involved, spiritual
Mhm,
guidance, like spiritual, more towards spiritual side, life coaching, and it's a combination of many traditions together. And ancient people, they connected it to like the roots of things. And
mhm,
so for example, like they just categorize into three groups. For example, like it's the either the anger side of the mind. They talk about physicality, mentality, both. And but they go like
yeah,
kind of like make it simple, and they go to like the anger side, maybe the greedy side people have, and then the ignorant side. So it's not to say people are bad or anything. Like everybody has a bit of these, no, and some at
mm,
some point. So it's like a coin, no. You head or tails, you toss it up, but it's the same
yeah,
coin. But sometimes so it can flip very easily.
yeah,
So then after that, when somebody comes, we just like a lot of trying to understand their situation, and then you lot of listening, no, and then after that you see what their goals are, their destinations are, because each one comes very unique, or some specific problem or some situation, no. So then we
yeah,
try to listen to them and try to understand the situation, and then slowly we try to say like, shall we try this and see. Or meditation, I saw it's like a very nice method, because it worked for me and many others I met along the way. And I'm not telling that's the only method or anything like that. I would like to incorporate all things possible to help a person, no? And if we
mm,
can just help from all directions, it's a complete thing, no, that is happening to them. But with the tools I have, like what I try to do is like, okay, let's try this and see. Like, can we try to? So it's like trying to fix the current situation then and there,
yeah,
because some days they're tired, no, some days they're stressed, some days they're happy, some days they're like fully relaxed and like some full of energy, and you feel it, no, and then you talk to them, most you recognize this, and then according to that you try to adjust, and then according to their goals also or destinations. Some say I want to come out of anxiety, or I had
mm,
this problem, no, so, and then how can I cope with that, and then you want to take them in the ancient route also, like so it can lead to some they say like I want to see God, no, or some people some maybe jhanic practices, or how to say yogic practices, or they say I want to cleanse my chakras, or I so according to those also, because there's plenty of it's open to everybody, no. So some people say, I want to become enlightened. No, sure, hop in. No, so because it's
yeah,
everything is possible. No, so it's
absolutely.
wonderful. Like it's so vast, and I'm just helping them. No, I say, hey, come on. No, like it's like a super highway. So it's
Yeah,
always been there. So I'm not creating anything. No, I said, but I just say like, hey, I fell there. No, you don't fall, right? I took that
mm,
left turn and I went. Oh my goodness, like 1 mile, and again I had to come back. Please
yeah,
don't try that, no. uh, but and then maybe the right turn is wonderful. There's a nice place there, you can rest there, it's so nice, or have a shower and all, plenty of food, no, all that, and you can have a good break there, and then you can move on. It's like that, like, but it's a bit of a uphill, uh, but it's like a nice trekking or like a journey, but there is a
yeah,
little bit of effort, and then people go through different patterns in their some
Mm.
addictive situations also. Sometimes they jump into their old habits, so you have to come like take them with them knowing or knowing unknowingly. So
Yeah.
again try to balance it, and then do some relaxations, these kind of things, and set them on sale, no? So it's
Mm.
very interesting, and some people you have to work a lot with them, some people less, some people it happens so fast, they just come out of it, and you feel very happy, no? And sometimes when you know, like, oh, it didn't really happen, so you feel it's like you take like a blunt knife and try to cut a piece of cake or something. But when the
Mm.
edge is sharp, it's like clean cut, no? You like no piece of
Yeah.
flakes or anything. No, it's not nothing crumbling. But when it happens like that, oh, something like was missing there. But sometimes it's
Mm.
just like a clear cut, and it's like I'm just taking as example, no? And it's like,
Yeah.
but
No,
it's
I love the cake analogy. I completely
uh,
understand. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I always felt like that. I don't know, maybe I'm greedy for cake or something. But it's like chocolate cake. And then,
Yeah.
but I always felt like if you, like with a blunt knife, all the flakes are happening, like there's pieces everywhere and the piece is also crumbled. But
Mm.
sometimes it's like, psst, and oh, you did a good job. But you don't try to push them, you don't try to force them. And sometimes like you go around them and say, hey, you know what, see, like that. So there was a young man
Mm.
there, like he was on addictions, so he had to recover for many days. So I said, no problem, like it's very nice, he opened up, no. He just came for
Yeah.
anxiety, but he'd say after one or two sessions, he said, I have problem, no. I asked what, and he said, I have
Yeah.
addiction. Then I slowly got the details on what is happening to him. And then he
Mm.
said like he parties for like 24 hours sometimes continuously. And
Yeah.
he then after that he has to recover for like 2 or 3 days. No, 3 to 4 days, sorry. Uh, then I just did some relaxation. He was telling like, wow, I feel so nice, no? So we did
Yeah.
couple of like that, and slowly see like within half an hour you can relax. And then why
Yeah.
do you have to like use 3 or 4 days to have that? Then after a couple of sessions, he said, "You know what? I stopped my addiction." So when you sometimes give, yeah, yeah, really like without even telling them, you give them a substitute or
Yeah.
option, and then they
Yeah.
feel it, and then you slowly bring it into their mind, no, or bring it up, and then you say,
Mm.
"Oh, really? Yes, yes." Then he started
Yeah.
going on walks, and like he had this beautiful dog, and yeah, it became better and better.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean that's the thing is it's like sometimes people just don't know, and that's okay,
Mm,
right? But you gave him the opportunity to kind of go, but these are the actual steps for having the calm experience without having the pain of that up and
mm,
down. And as you say, like so, and it's beautiful that you had the opportunity that to
mhm,
find that trust and that he was so willing to open up to you
mhm,
so readily, because I think that when we do choose to want to go and find some help, we can often be like, oh yes, it's like I found somebody that
mm,
hears me and understands me, and it's like finding that validation, and we can listen, and it's but it's also about making sure that we've given them the skills as well to be able to help themselves, because as they said, like you can give a person a fish and they can feed themselves for a day, or you can teach the person how to
mhm.
fish and they can feed
Fish.
the family for evermore, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, so it's just about giving ourselves the opportunity to pick up those new skills and those new tools and learnings, and not judging someone else for not knowing it yet, because that's okay. Right?
Mhm.
And
Some,
they did a different thing.
yeah,
They
some you
took a
feel.
different they took that left
Sorry.
hand.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Some you
that's
feel
brilliant.
it like it's difficult like to have, because it seems like you're knocking on a concrete block.
Mm,
So there was one person from one particular country. If he was from another country who had gone to another country, he was in a situation there,
yeah,
and one after the other, and he wanted like very quick results. And he said like, oh, how can you help me, how can you help me, no, like but it was like a whole cluster of things, no? So we had to reveal one by one, and
Yeah.
he had like physically some problems
Mm,
and many mental things going on, and it's like you are knocking on a block of concrete, no?
mm,
And it's just there, and you feel it, no? It's like a block of concrete, like no way place you try to penetrate from
yeah.
here,
Yeah.
yeah. And then yeah, he was like demanding, and what can you do, like, and no, like, even I have a sexual disorder. Oh, come on, now you're telling, right? And then yeah, one top of the other, one top of the other, it's getting worse and worse, right? First, it was
Yeah.
just like, I have some problems in my mind. Can you help me? But then it became one after the other, one after the other, going. And he was in some relationship in that country. It was so tough, and he was struggling with that, and so many things in one. And he was
Yeah.
not like ready, like, okay, let's work it out. No, one by one. And he was
Mm,
just asking, can you fix this? What can you do for me? I have this. No, I have this. I have this. It's like lot coming. Uh,
yeah.
so then you feel like, oh, yeah, what can I do to help you? No. So I gave like plenty of things. Like, why don't you talk to a sex therapist, or not, some person like who knows these fields, and then relationship coaches, these kind of options, because it's not just one, right? So
Mm,
so many things together. It's like,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, it was kind
Yeah.
of tough. There are some situations like you feel it also, no, like, I really want to help you, no?
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, I mean, ultimately, we want to be able to help everybody, but it's
Mm,
beautiful that you gave yourself the opportunity to go, actually, this is outside of my scope of practice. I need to be able to
mm,
give you the opportunity to see a different path with a different person that knows more about that, and
mhm.
that's okay.
True, no?
You'll help them in their journey moving forward by giving
Mm,
them a direction, because it's okay that sometimes we can't always help everybody.
mm,
And again, I hear what you're saying about that like wall of concrete. Sometimes some people are very heavy, and they're projecting a lot of like that weight onto other people as well, and that's okay. That's
mhm,
how they're trying to cope with it. But again, you have your own boundaries and your own little bit of concrete to look after as well, right?
yeah, this was like a block of concrete, no, like a square big
Yeah,
block, no, like you
yeah.
from any side.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, like with brain spotting, what we would do is you say like you sometimes when you're going into it through the activation, it feels like concrete. But what we then do is rather than going through the activation of the sensation, is rather than finding that, we look to find a resource, like a place that doesn't feel like concrete in throughout the whole body, or
Mhm,
even if it feels like externally, maybe it's the attunement that we have as client and practitioner, to
mhm,
find a different kind of resource to be able to just see whether or not there's a space to be able to move in that. And again, but
mhm,
everybody's time journey is different, and
mhm,
depending on what they're building in the front is as to whether or not they can heal in the back. And it's just about giving ourselves the opportunity to be
mhm,
enlightened by every person's unique journey, because we are so beautiful and unique,
mhm.
and just always a place to learn and grow. So yeah, brilliant. And thank you so much for sharing
Okay.
with me all of your beautiful, your skills and your
No,
past,
no.
your yeah. So
And
just
we
really
cannot
nice to
pretend, no, like, we cannot pretend like, okay, don't worry, like, I'll fix you, no, like, I
know.
wish I
Yeah.
could fix you, but there's something more here, and I'm not fully equipped for that, no. So there are plenty of
Mm,
people who are much better than me, no. So I cannot pretend and try to keep this person hooked up, no.
absolutely. And that's, as you say, being that genuine and authentic person
Mm,
to say sometimes it isn't within my scope of being able to, and that's okay. Yeah, yeah.
mm,
And being true to yourself, and knowing that, and giving yourself compassion that not everybody is your journey to help. So that's okay
But
as
some
well.
people, like, recently there's a person, like, first when I met this person, he was like on the verge, like on edge. You like on a building, and you're like just about to jump, and his
Yeah,
face was like melting up, and he looked so sad. And then little by little, now he's like transforming. And when you
yeah.
look into then what's happening, and now, so it's nice, like, he calls, "Ah, hello my friend, how are you?" I think he has nobody to talk about these things. But first he
Mm,
was like just melting up, and it felt like he was like on the verge of the edge. But then you
yeah,
slowly take him and place him on a safer place, and
Yeah.
then start working with him, you really feel like that, no? But now he feels
Yeah.
more bright, and now like he's thinking more. And now we came to a point, okay, you thought about it, you told me, we discussed about it, now let's do something about it. So it slowly
Mm.
came to that stage now.
Absolutely. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, they often say that like with healing the nervous system, sometimes it will feel like you're going really slow, but slow is fast.
Mm-hmm.
So you sometimes you have to be able to allow that nervous system to be able to start trusting itself, to be able to trust you before it can start moving forward. And like, if how long does it take for a piece of ice to melt? If it's in freezing degrees, it will never melt, and that's okay. Right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
beautiful. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
brilliant. Well, thank you so much for
Oh, thank you.
today. It was exciting today, and as ever, and I
Yeah, yeah.
really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much,
And
Caroline.
again,
Yeah, please.
yeah, and thank you everybody for listening and joining in with us. And we both hope to be able to work with you in the future, and hope that you've taken some treasures and nuggets from today. And again, if anything did come up, making sure that you connect into your own local support services should anything be needing to. Looking after yourself is number one.
Mhm. So
Brilliant.
thank you so much, Caroline, and we'll definitely put all Caroline's details and contacts in the post as well as the video. And there's a lineup of videos where she shared all her wisdom and knowledge and experiences with us from the very beginning. So you can refer this all these things anytime. Anybody can refer this. It's uh, complimentary. Anybody can see these things, and I think it's
Yeah.
worth so much. Anybody who's going through difficult situations, and we are so grateful, Caroline, and thank you so much. You have a brilliant day, and days to come, and for everybody also. Please take care, and uh, be mindful of the situations and emotions and no mentalities what you're going through before it escalates. Or like Caroline says, like if you're in some kind of situation, just see whether it is suitable to stay in there or do something about it. No, rather
Mm,
than getting into like deeper waters. Uh,
mm,
so thank
yeah.
you so much, Caroline, and everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Brilliant. Thank you